Here's a look at Day 3 outlook by the Storm Prediction Center, calling for a slight risk of severe thunderstorms to develop over portions of Oklahoma down into portions of west and central Texas. The general risk will be damaging winds and large hail. Day's 4 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center maintains that risk of severe thunderstorms developing just a little bit farther off to the north and east over portions of Oklahoma, portions of Arkansas, and Missouri. The main threat will be damaging winds and large hail. The threat for tornado will begin to develop over portions of Texas and Oklahoma back into the next few days from now, but the threat for tornadic development will begin to decrease over portions of Missouri and Arkansas to more of a damaging wind threat as we begin to lose some of these upper air dynamics. Here's a look at right now the 500 millibar GFS height and vorticity, showing there is a good amount of spin which is forecasted over portions of Texas and Oklahoma, with this trough axis which is digging in from the northwest. As this moves in here, it's going to begin to tap with some of the Gulf moisture associated with this system. As it begins to tap in some of this Gulf moisture, expect periods of showers and thunderstorms to develop over portions of Oklahoma down into Texas. The risk for severe thunderstorm risks include potential for damaging winds, large hail, and potentially an isolated tornado in some spots. The general risk will begin to exclude farther off to the east, and as the next several days wears on into portions of Missouri and Arkansas, and after that the risk will begin to diminish. Here's a look at the system over the next several days as it begins to be forecasted to move into the region. You can see the 500, this is not the 500 millibar, excuse me, this is more the troughiness forecast. You can see the trough is located right around here in the Four Corners region. Here's the area that's forecast for potential severe thunderstorm development. And you can see as this trough moves off to the southwest of the severe thunderstorm risk area, that means the main energy will remain off to the west. But with the trough moving in and we get enough low-level steering current, low-level shear, we could have the potential for some severe thunderstorms to develop mainly along a squall line, becoming more organized into more of a linear line into portions of extreme East Texas and Oklahoma as we head into the next several days. It will begin as thunderstorms developing in portions of West Texas and western Oklahoma before organizing as it moves off to the east into portions of Arkansas and Missouri. Here's a look out into the tropics, a brief look at it. We are watching the potential for some subtropical cyclone formation potentially in the next several days, the beginning of next week, into portions of the southeast coast just southwest of Bermuda. There is going to be an area of low pressure which is forecast to develop off the northeast of the Bahamas. This will begin to just merge right around the southeast coastline, not really affecting anyone, before it gets absorbed by this trough which is located off to the west, which is located right around Chicago and down into portions of the southwestern portion of the United States. Before this moves in, this may have the chance to potentially develop into some kind of subtropical formation. Continue moving on to the next several days as it begins, starts to blossom up to around a 1003 subtropical cyclone, potentially a weak tropical storm, potentially in the making. If this gets the name, this will acquire the name of Stan, so we could have subtropical storm Stan in the making before this trough would just continue to dig off to the west, which will move in here, which is responsible for the potentially some severe thunderstorms which may develop in Texas and Oklahoma. This trough will move up to the east and begin to absorb this potential tropical cyclone. And then you can see as the trough begins to move in, it begins to feel the effects of some upper level shear which begins to increase. So the storm begins to fall apart as this moisture is actually drawn into the system over the next several days, and this actually may bring some rainfall into portions of the northeast and the southeastern coastline. The interesting part of the ECMWF NAO I'm showing you right now is the potential we have for some more cold air to move into the United States. You can see right now we're located right around here, which is located right around a neutral phase, but as we head into the extended range, it begins to call for the NAO to turn negative, a negative tilt, which results in potentially some more colder air to move into portions of the region. So we actually could be dealing with a lot more colder air, potentially in the longer range, jigging in into portions of the United States. Mainly, a lot of people are probably thinking that mainly this will probably affect colder air will begin to move to the northern plains at first, and then be digging into the south and the east. So we're going to have more troughiness developing obviously around this region. And obviously if we have enough cold air moving in at the right time and we have moisture moving in, and that means some areas may get some winter weather. GFS is also in pretty good agreement with it, calling us right now we're going to remain in the positive phase, right around neutral phase for the next couple of days, but as we get into longer range this month and to the end of November, we'll likely begin to phase into a negative tilt, which once again results in much colder air, and this actually will shut off the tropics, which is pretty much doing right now. This will continue to exemplify colder air potentially moving to the United States and potentially an increase of moisture in some portions of the Pacific Northwest. Here's a look at today's surface analysis, showing the frontal system right here moving into the region. Stalled out front located right around Manitoba, Canada, all the way down into portions of the Baja of California. With this associated with this, enough wraparound moisture, it is possible that we actually could have some snowfall developing later on tonight into portions of the higher elevations of Montana and portions of Wyoming. That's why the National Weather Services around that region have issued winter storm warnings for potentially some heavy snowfall to develop. As you can see, our net system moves into the west. This may produce more mountain snow and valley rainfall into portions of the Pacific Northwest. Here's a look at the HPC's forecast for this system moving in. You can see we have a dry line potentially makes exemplify right around this region. We also have an area of low pressure which is going to develop around a 1,006 millibar low right around the northwest of Oklahoma City. We have an included front which is going to develop in portions of Kansas City, right around Kansas, and also a stalled out front will develop from portions of the Ohio River Valley down into portions of the plains. And then we have that associated cold front that develops into portions of Texas and Oklahoma, which will help drive some showers and thunderstorms to develop across Oklahoma and Texas over the next couple of days. And obviously, as we head into time, this will begin to spread up to the east. We have the trough moving in right around here. A little weak boundary right here may produce maybe some rainfall mixing with some snow showers in some of the higher elevations, which could result in some snowfall accumulations. You can see once again there's that area of low pressure. We were discussing it earlier, talking about potentially it may develop into maybe a subtropical cyclone as it moves up to the west before being absorbed by this frontal boundary, which is located right around here. Heading out into the longer range, the front, which is potentially bringing some severe weather, is moving off to the east, picks up whatever that system that is in the eastern portions of the southeastern coastline, which if it does develop will be absorbed by this frontal boundary. Next front moves into the region, not really a severe weather maker at all, but bringing in some much cooler air into portions of the northern plains, which we were talking about the potential for some colder air moving to this region. And obviously as this front begins to move up to the southeast, a good region of the southeast and a good portion of the nation may be below average once again. And we are watching our next storm system, which is centered off the coast of California, which may produce more rainfall and snowfall for portions of the higher elevations of the Pacific and portions of the West Coast. And as that moves in here, this may actually bring some rainfall to portions of the central and eastern United States in the longer range. But right now, severe weather is not expected with this next system.